Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. Welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show. I'm here with...
Hey everybody, it's Andrew Plank with the Viber Real Estate Group and Royal LePage. And we still want to know which direction Jane is pointing in, if you can tell us. Because to me, it looks like she's pointing away from me, but anyway.
I'm pointing at you.
I know you are.
I'm always pointing at you, honey.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. How are you doing?
I am great. Yeah, I feel really good. I was just reporting that I'm feeling a little stronger and a little better, and I've been having some back problems for a while, and they seem to be resolved. So that's good.
Good.
And summer's been pretty steady. I've been having lots of conversations with people around real estate. Everyone's curious about what's happening, and so I'm excited to be having this episode. Yes, hello, puppy. Time to go out.
She's discovered, since I've moved here, she's discovered that there's a deck there, so she likes to go out and
she can just ask, and you're at her beck and call.
Yeah. So today we're going to discuss multiple offers. The market's kind of, to me, it's settled down. Well, we're going to look at stats and compare this year and last year. I found an old PowerPoint with our stats from last year. So it'll be interesting to see how things compare. And then one of those PowerPoints actually slides has stats from the year before. So we can see what's going on. Okay. So you want to start with that?
Sure. Let's start with that.
Okay. Oh, here we go. And I've even figured out how to get the slide in there. Okay, go ahead.
So here we are looking. So the right hand picture is our current stats. So we've had 260 new listings go live versus last year in August, similar time point. August 22nd versus August 24th, 224. So not too far off. A little bit more listings going live. 139 properties went pending this month so far versus 130 last year. Price decreases 97 versus a little more at 111. And it's funny because this is a very, very similar graph, other than the solds are definitely much less.
I know, and then they may be just dependent on what the timing is, and
I think they're dragged. Those solds are probably dragged from. Well, actually, they wouldn't be dragged from the market going slower, because we were really starting to slow down by August last year.
Yeah, so interesting. I just thought comparatively, we're actually doing better in terms of new listings year over year. Pending were about the same, and price decreases were slightly less. So that says to me we're not in. It shifted previously, and we're in a more steady market when I'm looking at this graph. But
yeah, I mean, we definitely were shifting from the really seeing that listings to pendings being a much more even or even more pending than listing back in February, March of 2022. And here we are. And I'd say what we've been seeing, what we've been reporting over the last weeks and months is pretty much similar. It looks pretty similar all around the board. We're not seeing anything really exciting happening, no big changes. It looks fairly steady, pretty much a balanced market overall. With, the question still is what are we going to see, I guess, next spring? And that's the question everybody's got on their mind.
Yeah. So year over year as well, we're looking, so in August 2023, we have 341 net unconditional sales to date. That's compared to 304 for this month last year, August 22nd, 2022. And net unconditional sales, August 2022 was 478, and that's compared to 831 in August 2021. And what's funny, the reason why this started for me was, for some reason, I clicked on podcasts in the car, and I was listening to our podcast from a few years ago, and you're like, it's offer day. When we did our podcast on Mondays, a lot of people would look at offers, and then the buyers would have to choose, where am I going to offer and what am I going to miss out on? Anyway, new listings New listings month to date, we're at 721. That's compared to 980 last year and 894 in 2021.
Yeah,
So
interesting
interesting.
to look 3 years back here and see how things have gone.
Oh, so we're down on new listings so far.
So far, but we still have another week to go.
Yeah.
So we will potentially catch up.
Yeah. So active listings were at 2,460. That's up from last year at 2,137 and down from, or
Way
way
up.
higher, I mean,
Yeah,
than August 2021, where we had 1,120.
right. Yeah. And
So that's,
still like seasonal norms, what's this like a 10-year average for active listings on market is probably, up above 3,000.
yeah. So we're low. We're still low on listings. In August of 2021, we were at a list to sale ratio of 90%, and
Mhm,
now we're just over 50%.
mhm,
So
mhm.
anyway,
Okay.
okay.
Well, thanks for pulling those out and giving people that context and contrast. So that's great.
So the other thing is, this past week, I've had a couple of clients who have been in multiple offers, and sometimes I tell clients, like, if you're not willing to go in at your top dollar, sometimes what you're doing is you're just pushing the market up. And
Hmm.
the reason for that is because if there's another buyer who's writing an offer, they're going to think, well, they're going to write probably at least at asking, I should write above, and that pushes the accepted offer price above. Um,
And
what
so just to give some extra context to anyone who's kind of new to watching real estate, when we are pricing homes to giving advice to our sellers on how to price their own homes, we're going to be looking at past sales. And so when we look at past sales, we're going to look at sale prices. And of course, if those prices have bumped up, from where they had been, that's going to be information that they're going to be using to help price their home. So that's where you get that sort of effect where as the market kind of moves up, everybody keeps, rising price above the next.
right.
And so a lot of buyers don't want to, definitely, and we don't like to necessarily see that either. If we can, we don't want to falsely increase the market.
And
Um,
so I was involved in a very candid conversation this
uh,
week where we wrote an offer on a property, and the agent called me back and he said, are you willing to, it was an older property, are you willing to give up an inspection on this property and just go unconditional? And I was
mhm.
like, huh. And I said, is the other property other offer unconditional? And they get the right from their client to discuss how candidly they want to talk to us. And he said, no, it's only subject to financing. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, old house and subject to inspection. Seller doesn't want the subject. They'd
Yeah,
rather go subject to financing. What's wrong with this property?
yep. It raises a lot of flags. Yeah.
And I said, ironically, people are more likely to lose an offer based on financing than they are based on inspection.
With inspection, if you like the house, the location works, the floor plan works, its overall condition is good, and then you find an issue, and I've just had this happen recently. We have this happen all the time. You find mold in the attic, or you find something that was unknown to everyone beforehand, then there's a discussion and often there's some adjustment.
Yeah. And I said to the guy, like, we went through this property twice. We are very sure. I said to the listing agent, we are very sure about what we were seeing. I was very open with the buyer with the issues that I felt were in the property,
Mm,
including poly B piping.
mhm,
There was a bit of bad roofing, like interlocking T that was probably 25 years old.
mhm.
And anyway, and so the seller makes a final decision. So I said, well, let me know when the financing doesn't go through, and we'll be here.
Right.
We'll
Yeah.
write a backup offer. So, but I have another case of,
So if I could just interject one thing too, is when you're in that situation, one of the things I talk to clients about is, you don't necessarily have to be, you could still be the highest bid, subject to building inspection, or no building inspection. You don't know necessarily what that financing offer was. And if they're saying remove the building inspection, you might remove the building inspection, but also lower your price to maybe help mitigate or account for any problems that could come up. Now, there's still a chance you find something catastrophic, but you've maybe helped to cover most probabilities or most cases where there could be a problem. And
Yeah.
yeah, the seller still may not accept it, but the fact is like when you're removing conditions, you're actually adjusting the value proposition of like how you need to take that into account.
Yeah. So, what we did, I think about 5 or 10 years ago, we were in a multiple offer situation, and I think we ending up offering 740, and then the listing agent asked us to take out the inspection. I
Mhm,
talked to the client. We ended up reducing our price by 15,000
mhm.
or 20,000, and because we went in unconditional, we won it.
Yeah,
But I think we were above the other offer as well.
you were still above the other offers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little trade secret. I've done this once or twice, and that is, and the listing agents find this really interesting. But you have a conversation with your client, and we lost out on a property one time, for example, where we actually had a subject to inspection, and ever since then, it's been a lesson. We had a subject to inspection, lost out to a lower priced offer that was unconditional, and my client said we would have paid that and gone unconditional, and
Lower.
so lower, yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it actually is worthwhile putting in two offers. The seller, yeah,
Oh, you actually would submit 2 offers.
submit two offers because the seller then has a choice. Yeah, making a note, eh?
Mhm.
Um, of course, then you're in a multiple offers situation right off the bat
With yourself.
yourself. Um, but what you're doing there is maybe giving the seller a choice of, okay, I'm going to accept either $1 million unconditional or 1.1 with with a number of conditions, and then they've got the choice of whether or not they want to take the risk of the offer of the property failing inspection or buyer not getting financing versus the buyer being, you know, feet to the flame.
Hmm. Okay, so
And
we
got your wheels turning. Good. Okay.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Submit 2 offers. Everyone's gonna be there with 10
I know
offers.
it's a rare situation, but if you are in a competing situation and you're not too sure which direction, and you don't always get a lot of guidance from the seller's agent, they don't. There's not always amazing communication between everyone. So if you don't know and you're going in blind, you might want to consider these
2
different
offers.
scenarios. Yeah,
Well, the other thing is right now is, you know, where is the market going and what is the right offer,
yeah,
right? Because I was involved in a multiple offer situation where we both came in at listing price. And so then, you know, and we were an all cash buyer. That's
yeah.
the other thing is communicate that if you don't have financing. There's like, I don't have financing, but I still need an appraisal. You need financing.
Yep.
Or and as a listing agent, you really need to ask the question, have your clients been pre-approved? Because sometimes people have submitted offer. Well, we need 2 weeks. Why do you need 2 weeks?
Hmm.
Oh, because we haven't actually got pre-approved yet. Well, then what are you doing writing an offer?
Hmm. Yep.
So listing agent asks the question, buyer agent feel them out. I like to feel out the agent and see what I need to do to to
TMI.
make the offer. What?
Nothing. You do what you got to do to get those accepted.
Right. So obviously ask for dates
Uh,
that work for the seller. I think everybody does that now. And then what about extra clauses like professional cleaning? Do you take those out in a multiple offer?
do you put those into a standard offer?
I'm starting to receive them.
Yeah. Okay. And that's, yeah, good point. So this goes to where the market is right now, where it's a lot more balanced than it was. And so we're starting to see, I mean, certainly I've had buyers receive,
I'm just
but
listening. Nothing. You've had buyers receive
buyers,
sellers.
sorry, where were we at? I got distracted.
Professional cleaning,
Yeah,
balance.
yeah. So buyers have received homes on completion that have not been well cleaned, right? Or I've listed properties and you just know it's vacant and you know it's just not going to be cleaned. There's no obligation in the contract, folks, that just like it's not like a rental where there's a damage deposit. It's the contract states it will be as in substantially the condition will be substantially as viewed. Yes, you've got a mosquito or something.
Holy
Um,
smoke.
so there's no requirement that the seller cleans, although most sellers are really great about it. And it's good to have a conversation with your clients around this and the expectations. Both your buyers, give them clear expectations. I tell my buyers don't um, don't have the moving truck show up right at possession because you might actually end up having some cleaning to do, or there might be something we need to discuss, like some junk to remove and so on. So that's why people are putting those clauses into their offers, and that makes sense if you're in a position of power as the buyer. But if you are in a multiple offer situation, those kind of clauses can be the exact thing that causes you not to be able to win the home. And
Right.
are you going to not buy it just because it was left a little dirty? I'm not sure.
The other thing is as a buyer, when you start asking a lot of questions before an offer comes in,
Yeah.
and you're
Oh
before
man.
the offers are due, you
Yeah.
can be seen as kind of troublesome. So wait till you get the accepted offer.
It's a fine line, like you want to go in with knowledge about the property, but there's nothing worse than, especially, if someone comes to you with, five legitimate questions all at once, and you take it to your seller and they answer those legitimate questions. And it's like, well, you can tell they're interested. They've done some due diligence. They're going in to the offer process with full awareness. That can be a good thing. But those five same questions, if they were brought over time, will be, we get busy. We don't necessarily want to have to deal with all of this back and forth. And, why are you asking these questions in a sort of peppering us kind of way? And that's true of both before and after you've got the accepted offer. But after an accepted offer, you do have, if you have written a condition for inspection, you absolutely have the right to ask all those questions and hopefully get some answers.
Well, now also you have a rescission period.
Right.
So that brings to a point. What about rescission period? How have you found that's changed offers coming in and going out?
I'd say not much, although it's diminished the value of an unconditional offer. Um, if I so before this rescission period allows the buyer to walk for any reason within 3 days of accepted offer. There's still some confusion around it, like what is the accepted date? I won't get into that, but um, allows them to walk. They still have to pay a 0.25% penalty to the seller if they do walk away, but it's often not collected before the offer is made or even after it's accepted. So it's up to the seller to go after the buyer for it. So it's kind of troublesome that way. But what it does is it means that if I was making an unconditional offer in the past before this rescission period, the property was essentially sold. And
Right, and
so
you could report it.
if we were in looking at multiple offers and one was subject to financing with a 3-day condition, or let's say a building inspection with a 3-day condition, another one was subject to what was unconditional, we would and all other things being equal, my sellers would probably take the unconditional offer, unless there was a really nice buyer's letter. But now that same offer that's unconditional won't have necessarily the same draw because the buyers could still walk away.
So what I'm finding with buyers, what they're doing is they're putting in a big deposit up in 24 hours so that the money is recoverable for
Mhm.
the some are doing a non-refundable deposit of a
Yeah.
little bit of an amount so that the seller will definitely get that if they do walk away.
Hmm.
Um, and they're really the
Something that's even above the rescission amount is what you're talking about.
yeah, and they're binding their buyer to the offer, I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Um, and what else am I finding? Um, some are writing an offer with subjects in 3 days now, so it's like super quick turnaround.
Mhm.
So it matches the rescission date.
Yeah.
Um, So it's speeded up the process. This is, I think, an unintended consequence.
Unintended, yeah. I mean, you can only speed it up so much when we're talking financing, but usually we can get a building inspection arranged and completed within the 3-day period.
Yeah. So during
Oh,
negotiations, you're like texting every building inspector.
yeah, yeah, you're already setting up the inspection while you're a lot of people do this. We do this quite often. If you're making an offer, you can also, and it's subject to an inspection, but there's a tight timeline. You can say, look, we've already got the inspection lined up. It's lined up for tomorrow. We're going to be able to give you an answer right away. And that can
Mhm.
really be helpful for people um, with that. Yeah.
Okay, and then setting up insurance and stuff, you can't really do that because you don't usually know enough about the property. So
Yeah.
most people, I think you have to be careful, especially if you're writing in an older property, and oil tank inspections and stuff like that
It takes
can
some time.
really kibosh, yeah, your insurance. So as a listing agent, you need to make sure that you have an oil tank scan done before you list the property.
Yeah,
And
I'm going to be listing a property soon that has an oil tank that was rendered inert back in the day, and this is an interesting thing. Is what was okay at one point is no longer okay, and this is always a shifting market, shifting target. What we find today might be the norm. Tomorrow might be completely different. So it's really hard for us when we tell our clients or a client buys a home and the property had an oil tank that was rendered inert at the time. That was the standard practice, let's say, or a relatively standard and acceptable practice. Insurance companies were fine with it. Lenders were fine with it. Now, not so much. So these people that bought this property, maybe it had an underground oil tank that got rendered inert at their expense after they bought it. Now they actually have to pay to actually have it removed. So it's a double whammy.
it's $1,000 to get it removed. Depends how much sand has been put in, whether or not it's contaminated, and when they
Mhm.
test the soil. I did have a client who sold probably like 15 years ago, and the seller was not a nice person. I was a listing agent, and we found an oil tank in the backyard, and he wouldn't pay for it to be removed.
Mhm. Yep. Well, and then that risks, it's funny because if the seller walks or the buyer walks from that, now that has to be disclosed to any future buyer,
Mm.
and it makes it really hard to sell. So the seller was probably, I mean, I guess the buyer still bought.
Yeah, the buyer still bought, and the agents ate it.
Okay, yeah.
Every
Well,
time we
that's a
knocked
risk
on
though,
any
because you don't know necessarily if there's a lot of until you've actually pulled it up and done the investigation. You don't know if there's been an actual catastrophic leak and a big environmental problem that could end up being $80,000, $100,000, $200,000. Most times it's, I don't know. You said 1,000 for rendered inert, 2,500. I don't know. We shouldn't be putting numbers out, but there's, it's not. We're not talking tens of thousands of dollars most of the time for an
Yeah,
underground
what you can do in a contract, though, is write a maximum number of which it cannot go over,
oil.
and if it does, then the seller reserves the right to withdraw from the offer.
But so this goes into where are we at in the market right now? And the market is kind of in that state where some properties we can negotiate those kind of things. Other properties that are well priced and a lot of people are taking action on it at once. We still see multiple offers. I just had a listing. We went multiple offers recently. Um, you you have to put your best foot forward in that case, and so you have to forego some of those things if you are um, wanting to quote win. And I always tell my clients, you could win and still lose because you might end up with an underground oil tank, or you might end up finding something in inspection that's not going to be great for you, or you might, if you forego a financing, then if you truly needed to get financing and didn't appraise or something. So you've got to be really careful in these multiple offer situations.
Yeah, and to me, so when you're going to decide what you're going to offer on a property, there's a couple of considerations. One is, are you going to be living in the property a long time? In which case you're going to buy and hold, and the market will go up anyway. And the second is, if you're not going to be living in the property a long time, is your perception that the market's going to go up, and therefore you're going to get your value. So in fast rising market like we had during COVID, everybody had confidence that the market was going up, so they had no trouble offering more. Right now they're like, I don't know what's going to happen, because the
Right.
market softened. It's not softened, it's more steady.
We've had rising interest rates, which has hit affordability and also hit consumer confidence. And we just had a general slowdown. So when people look at the stats, it's so funny because when things are selling, people always want what other people want. When things are selling quickly, people think they've got to buy too or miss out. When things are slow and there's more selection and you can actually take your time and take a breath and maybe do those investigations, people are thinking, well, maybe I can wait. I'll just wait a little longer. And then the market turns on a dime. It starts going up again. And that's when they're jumping in, and it's cost them $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000. Sometimes it's the difference between being able to buy a home and not buy a home. I've seen many people miss out on properties because the market's gotten away from them.
It's very frustrating when you're working with a buyer and they go, well, let me think on it. And then 2 or 3 days pass and you find out an offer comes in on the property and they're like, oh, I want the property. And then you're like, that just cost us at least $10,000 or $20,000.
Yeah, us, but it's really you, the consumer.
Yeah, it really is so hard to deal with.
In a sense, it actually makes you more money. As a real estate agent, we're paid commission based on a percentage of the sale, but
Yeah,
it's not what we think about. I mean, some agents may.
Yeah,
They
so
might
it's
want you to save money
$150 every 10,000, folks.
based on what you charge. Yeah.
Yeah, based on a buyer's agent commission, it's generally.
So you sleep on it, you might make us an extra $150.
And you might pay an extra 10,000.
Yes.
That's a very interesting perspective because people think we're motivated by the money, but really we're motivated to win for you. I'm motivated to win for my clients.
What's $150 on versus client happiness, satisfaction, the fact they're going to tell their friends and family to call you because you did a great job for them. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is the people who are research oriented often want to, sit and think and really let the information soak in. And
uncomfortable to take quick action when you are, and that's paralysis by analysis kind of thing. And there are people who take that action all the time, and that's how they operate. And it can serve them in many ways, but in a fast-paced market, it will work against them generally. And there are ways we work with them, and this is a frank conversation you need to have. It's that whole idea of knowing yourself. If the client is self-aware, it's going to be easier. And if we can have a conversation around the fact that, okay, I know you need to really feel comfortable with these numbers and need to know what the stats are doing and look at all of these things. Let's provide you all this, but also give you a clear understanding that, for example, you can write an offer, and if it's not an unconditional offer, even if it is now with this rescission period, you have opt-outs. So let's get the seller tied into selling to you at a price point that actually works and avoid that risk of, maybe it's helpful to have
just so you have the opt-out, but if you write an unconditional offer, you don't have the right of an inspection.
Yeah.
So just let's be clear that you can't opt out based on an inspection.
No. So you have to pay the rescission fee and opt out based on that. It's true.
Yeah. So the whole point is to give the general buyer 3 business days. So it can be 5 days, depending on when the offer is written, to really think about it. And just be aware that he who hesitates is lost, right? So we want you to win, to find the best property for you. What I find is when you're looking at enough properties, you're going to be able to see what the value is when you go in. And you can be as logical as you want. But most people buy based on emotion and how the house feels.
Yeah. And even the people who truly do, and I've worked with many people who, pull out the spreadsheets and are looking at all the numbers, and it's quite common actually. I've worked with some folks who were programmers actually, and they actually had a really cool spreadsheet where they had the various pros and cons of a house they were looking for, and they'd given a point system to each of those pros and cons. So it wasn't just like, we want this. but something with a water view was a +5, right? It was almost like a gamified.
Yeah.
So every house we would go through, they would actually give it, and they would add up their numbers and say, okay, how does this add up? At the end of the day, though, we make decisions emotionally and rationally.
My dog has discovered something outside. Sorry. Ginger, shh. No bark. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah. Wait for the dog to.
I have to use my dog training voice. Okay.
Oh, I want to hear that. Let's
Andrew,
go.
no barking. Sorry.
Okay, so where are we at here?
I'm blushing.
We've probably peaked on the rescission period. It does affect offers. The idea of waiting to make your offer will cost you probably, because you're going to end up competing against somebody else that was also thinking about it overnight.
Yeah.
So all of these things, and in this marketplace, that still happens. People don't really, people think maybe there's more time to make decisions. Sellers,
And also, if a property is attractive and it's priced well,
okay.
maybe they don't have a waiting period for offers, but there will be other offers that come in.
So let's talk sellers really quickly, because I want to say in this marketplace, pricing is really, really important. Worked with a number of sellers who say, well, someone can always make an offer. And what I try to get them to understand is, yes, people can always make an offer, but they're not going to offer $50,000 off your asking price the day it was listed when there was another property nearby that was already $50,000 less. They'll offer on that one and maybe offer a little under that.
Yeah. So yesterday it was interesting because I have these clients who are stuck on a price. So I took
Yeah.
a seller through properties, and I know instinctively that the seller was trying to ask too much money for this property, but it took the experience of walking through the other properties to really get them to see that we didn't have what it took to ask what they wanted. So even though you can show them virtually, you can share the stats with them, sometimes you just have to take them through the property in order to see that they're overpricing.
It's
And
a really good tool and a really good service that you can do for your sellers. And sellers really do, should take us up on these offers. Is go through and look at the competition.
Yeah, and the other thing is, Andrew makes a good point. Well, somebody can make an offer. What somebody's saying, well, they can make an offer as, I want to negotiate down, and that doesn't put you in a strong position as a seller.
You're not going to probably go into multiple offers or generate a lot of interest, and it's going to be you're waiting for that one buyer who maybe really needs that property, and that may not happen. And so the longer you're on market, the more risk you have of getting less than you could have had you just had the price right off the bat.
I really like pricing right at market value.
Mm-hmm. Which is hard to know exactly. We don't know exact market value, but we can certainly look at the market and come up with a really good estimate. And
yeah, I find it funny when sellers come in, they go, well, so what do you think it's worth? Like, I'm like, well, it's, first of all, like a car, I kind of need to lift the hood and look at the engine and see if it's running properly. I need to see if everything is working correctly in your home. So often things are missed in that 15 minutes where I'm walking around your property. I need to really look at things a little more deeply, but also I need to think where I look at the market on a continuum. Where are people looking? What is it not? It's not this. It's not this. It's somewhere in here, and it's a very iterative process.
It is. It is. I really enjoy the CMA, the comparable market analysis process, of looking at what else is sold in the neighborhood, what similar properties are all throughout the marketplace. What price point we're kind of considering, what price point I would consider the property might fit into, and looking at what that kind of money would buy for other people. And you switch between hats of, okay, well, I'm the seller and this is what I'm seeing. And okay, if I was the buyer and I'm coming through this property, what am I going to see? Hearing my clients' feedback in my ear as to, well, I really need 3 bedrooms and this has 2 bedrooms and a den, and I'm going to have a growing family. Whatever it is, you're going to be able to come up with a lot of different kind of arguments to help you settle into it's a science and an art when it comes to pricing a home.
And if you like this, you might want to consider watching our podcast that we did with how sellers perceive offers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a buyer and how buyers perceive, because often it helps as a buyer to step into the seller's shoes.
Yeah.
And same thing the other way. Okay, so let's move on to needs and wants.
Okay.
I'm starting to be a little more organized about this. Okay, so what needs and wants do you have?
Well, let's see, fixer-upper homes. I've got a number of clients that are looking for something that they could, whether it's a condo or a house that is in need of some spit and polish. They are actually interested in fixing up, perhaps either to keep and hold or to flip. The rules on flipping have changed recently, but there's that. I've got folks looking for a water view condo up to probably 750. Someone looking for a half duplex or small house under 800,000. Someone looking for probably a rancher style home, maybe 2 or 3, probably 3 bedrooms in the West Shore. I've got someone going to be looking for a family home, preferably Oak Bay area or somewhere near good schools for growing family, somewhere up to probably 2.5, but preferably 1.5 to 2. Nice waterfront water view home on the peninsula, and a 1 or 2 bedroom condo under 500,000.
Okay. So new listings, I have just this one that just came up on Grand Rose. It's really beautiful. And it is 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It's 3,000 square feet, and it has beautiful views, south-facing views on Grand Rose right at the top. And I'm doing this because I'm looking at the windows in my head. So that one is priced at 1.1. And you know what? The sellers were very practical when we looked at this listing.
Is Grand Rose, that's out at Latoria, right?
Yeah, that would have gotten 125.
Is this a house or a townhouse?
It's a half duplex in a townhouse complex.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then I have a new listing coming up on Sumac. It's about 1,800 square feet. We're going to get measured today, actually. I'm going up there right after this. And it has been renovated. Actually, had to be renovated twice because the first renovation by Hook and Hook was terrible. So they had to get these new renovators in, and they did an amazing job. Like, those doors that fold and open right up? They have them on 2 sides of the house.
Exterior doors?
Yeah. So it's 1 level rancher. They've got a gorgeous 2.5 car garage. So 2 car, full car. They've got 2 heat pumps, 1 on the house, 1 on the garage, extra storage on the garage. And then they have an additional building for a studio, which they have, she has a photography studio in it. So we're working on the price on that, but it'll be under 2. I'm just not sure what price.
Sounds amazing.
And that's on an acre. And then for buyers, I have lots of people looking for houses in the West Shore. So specifically Machosen, somebody looking for a house with a suite. I have another client looking for kind of a funky looking house on the West Shore or core up to 1.1 million. The other people are looking up to 2 million. And I can't even believe I'm saying that, like compared to when we first started in real estate. And what else? I have, let me just look. That's about it for now. Those are kind of my two biggest busy people. We have somebody looking for a condo up to 475 in the peninsula, please.
Okay. Sounds good. I just realized, oh no, I'm still good.
Timing?
Yeah, timing, but we're good.
Okay, so you guys, if you're interested and you like our show, please watch us on Thursdays at 9. And please, if you also 9:30, I mean, please share with your friends if this topic is of interest to somebody else. We would love other people to tell us what they want to hear as well. So don't forget to leave comments. We've got 3 likes this day. And do you have anything you want to say?
No, just go out there and enjoy what's left of the summer, and we will be, expecting things to get a little busier in the fall. And in the meantime, it's been pretty steady. It's been a surprisingly busy summer for me. And just enjoy your week. It's always appreciate these, Jane. Thank you.
You're welcome. How do people reach you?
They generally call me or text at 250-360-6106, or they email me at info@andrewplank.com. They check out my website, andrewplank.com. Lots of resources there. And Instagram, Plank Andrew, as I said before, is mostly photos of my cat.
Aww.
Yes.
Okay, if you want to reach me, my name is Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group. You can reach me at 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. Sorry. And you can also check out these videos more at victoriarealestateshow.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where you follow the wild and wacky life of Jane Johnston, realty teacher _Remax Victoria. All right, you guys, have a great week. Take care.
Thanks, Jane. See you
Love
later.
you, buddy.
Love you too.